of the summer, and I fall in your arms. These days stay golden.
Good morning everyone, I'm here in Mount Rainier National Park and I have just driven 17 miles on the roughest road I've ever been on in my life. But I've made it here to Moach Lake where I'm going to do two hikes today. So firstly I'm going to go to the top of Tolmie Peak, which is meant to be one of the best hikes here in Mount Rainier and indeed Washington. It's a bit quieter, a bit harder to get to, but it does still get quite crowded, so I've done it very early. It's 5:30, the sun is just coming up, so you probably can't even see me. But yeah, I'm going to go up to the top, check out the summit and the view. So for the first section of the trail, you just meander right alongside Moach Lake. You get glimpses of Mount Rainier and other peaks, as well as this gorgeous reflection because it's so still this morning. There's a few people just coming into the parking lot as I set off, so I'm guessing they'll probably catch me up soon. But it's quite dark, so I haven't done an awful lot of filming on this first section. But you can see that the sun is coming up, and I think when it fully rises, it's going to be a really gorgeous day here today. So yeah, this hike is just under 6 miles a round trip, though some people say that it takes 7, if you believe all trails. But I'll put the final timings at the end of the video. Very typical of Mount Rainier, this hike apparently, where it's a lot of woodland and then it finally opens up to the view towards the end. But this view is exceptional, and this is going to be one of those hikes that, you know, you don't get to do all the time, but when you do it, you really appreciate. So I've just got to the 1 mile marker, and so far it's pretty steady going. There's a few inclines and then a few declines, but I think it's at the 1.5 miles it gets very intense, and that's when the switchbacks are going to start and it's going to get a lot harder. So far it's just this dense woodland with the trail, and then there's very few vantage points where you look out to the valley. No views of Rainier yet, but constantly I can hear this buzzing, and there's mosquitoes, but there's also bees. And the reviews on all trails, which I'm not an affiliate for, but I really recommend you download. I pay $30 for a pro pack, which gives me access to download maps offline and everything for the year, so I really recommend you do it. And it has all reviews. So the reviews from the last few days, there's been quite a few, because obviously it's Monday today. We wouldn't know that, but so it's Monday today, so it's just been a weekend. So there's quite a lot of fresh trail reports on there from people that have hiked here over the weekend, and they all were like, bugs, bugs, bugs. So just as a heads up, bring bug spray. I've actually put DEET on today, and I hate DEET, but it's so far it's helped. I hear the buzzing in my ears, but they don't seem to be biting. But this is often the case with me, and then I get home and discover, you know, a body mosaic of bites, so who knows. But yeah, it's a very warm morning today, so they're having a bit of a heat wave here in the Seattle and Pacific Northwest area, so it's going to get up to the 90s here today. So I'm glad I started the hike quite early because I'm already quite warm. So the trail for Tommie Peak was just at the junction, 200 feet back from here. This is the Wonderland Trail going on, skipping that out, but I just really wanted to step out onto this pass just because the sun was coming through the trees, and at first it almost looked like fire because all the rocks in the trees really high up were like orange, and this is why, because the sun's rising. So yeah, I couldn't miss this, not for anything. So here's that trail junction I just mentioned. So the Wonderland Trail, which is what we've just come from, continues on this way, and that's where that pass was. Ipsut Pass, where I just saw that gorgeous sunrise, and you'd carry on that way if you wanted to go to the Carbon River camp. But Eunice Lake and Tommie Peak are just down this way. So looking at the All Trails maps, it looks like it's a few switchbacks down and then a hell of a lot. So once you get to the bottom of this valley, it's all uphill and all the way up to the peak. So yeah. I've done about 1.7 miles, and I've just got to the bit where the flat ends and the climb up to the peak begins. So it's quite steep and there's going to be switchbacks, but the views are going to be worth it at the top. The heat and the switchbacks are getting to me now. I'm starting to sweat all my teeth off. But Mount Rainier is peeking through the clouds, sorry, through the trees, peeking through the trees just behind me. And that's your incentive when it gets tough to keep going to the top. So I've come to a bit of a plateau. There's a bit of a meadow with loads of gorgeous wildflowers, which I'll be showing you more of later in Spray Park. But just over here is Eunice Lake, and there's a little trail that goes over to the lake. But Tommie Peak is right up there. So it's a nice spot to have a time out and a break, but it's hella high. So yeah, that's a big climb. But I'm going to do it because I've come all this way. I did not drive up that horrible road to not then get up there. But yeah, you can take a little side trail to the lake. The mosquitoes have descended upon me and I am going to move. So I'm just coming to the edge of Eunice Lake now, and you get these gorgeous reflections of all the trees. The bugs are so bad, but there it is, Tommie Peak just up there, and I can see some of the switchbacks heading up the hill. And on this side, Mount Rainier is towering above the tree line, and yeah, it's so peaceful here and absolutely gorgeous. It really feels very remote. It feels very wilderness, which is all me. So yeah, I really like. This is bear grass and it's in abundance today. This is Rainier, obviously. This is Eunice Lake, and this is just a whole bunch of bear grass and 1,000 mosquitoes swarming around me. But oh my god, like, I love Rainier, and I've done lots of hikes here, but this one, I have to be honest, I think this might be my favourite. This is, I'm gonna say this might even be better than Skyline. So once you cross the 3 mile mark, the ascent levels a little bit. It's still a slight climb, but you can tell you're on a ridge. There's a valley down to one side, and then on the other side you can see Rainier. And it's still climbing, but it's very slight. And you can see just by the way that the tree line is, and you're really in the sky now. Not far from the top, which is a great relief. I can't wait to stop and just take in the views, have a snack, have some water. You don't want to rush back on this hike because it's just so beautiful. I'm going to say it, I think this is up there with like Clouds Rest and stuff as like one of America's most beautiful hikes. Bold statement, but I believe it. So this fire lookout was built in 1933, so it's pretty old, and was used for when lightning strikes and things like that would hit the forest, so they could watch for wildfires. Nowadays it's a little bit more advanced than that, but it's still super cool. And yeah, the view of Rainier and is just insane, and of Lake Eunice. There's a lot of bugs up there, so I stayed as long as I could, but it got too much for me, so I'm going to head down and visit Spray Park. So heading back down, I've passed a few people on the trail, heading up. They even started early because obviously when I started it was still dark, so I did do the hike quite early today, but I think it paid off because you can see from those All Trails reviews, and I'm also on a Facebook page with people that hike up in Washington, and everybody says, it's crowded, it's crazy. So actually coming and doing the hike early definitely pays off. It's easier to drive up the road because you're not overtaking other cars and having to pull in and missing the easy track, and obviously you get views like this to yourself. I've got about 1.5 miles to go until I'm back where I parked the car. So I've passed a few more people in this section prior to Eunice Lake. The bugs were really bad, like really bad, and they haven't been as bad, but now there's one that's annoying me. But yeah, there's been people hiking in like visors and mosquito nets and stuff. This is actually a wasp or a bee that's on me at the moment, but it's still quite quiet. The lake is so gorgeous here on the hike back. I'm almost back at the parking lot. Now this hike will have taken me about 6.4 miles round trip, and that's with like detours and walking around at the top. I would say it's probably a moderate hike. All Trails has this listed as hard, and I don't think it's hard at all. I think it's really not hard. There's like this section is just flat. There is some steep ascent, but it's quite brief. So yeah, I would say for this hike you don't need poles or anything, but you definitely need good boots because there's a lot of logs and there's tree trunks and rocks, and it's quite dusty, and I think sneakers might be just a little bit too not strong enough for this one. There is some options to filter water at the lakes and stuff, but you don't need to take a whole bunch because the hike with all the stops with filming and spending time at the top will have taken me 3.5 hours. So it's definitely like doable with just like some snacks and an Nalgene of water. So yeah, I am going to spend some time now relaxing by the lake, have some lunch, and then I've got some other hikes that I want to do today. If you like this video and want more videos from Yosemite, Rainier, Yellowstone and so many other national parks, don't forget to like and subscribe.
I'll never forget these golden days.